For viewers across Africa and the rest of the world, this is NC Continental Prime. I'm Felicity Ezewike. We begin in West Africa, where Nigeria's President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has approved the immediate retirement of all service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, advisors, Comptroller-General of Customs from service. The President approved these replacements with immediate effect. This was confirmed in a statement released by the Director, Information for Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Willie Bassey. The newly appointed officers include Nuhu Ribadu as National Security Advisor, Major General C.G. Musa as Chief of Defense Staff, Major T.A. Lagbaja as Chief of Army Staff, Rear Admiral E.A. Ogalla as Chief of Naval Staff, Air-Vice-Mashal H.B. Abubakar as Chief of Air Staff, DIG Kayode Egbetokun as Acting Inspector General of Police, and Major General E.P.A. Undiandeye as Chief of Defense Intelligence. Similarly, the President has approved the appointment of Adeniyi Bashir Adewale as the AG Comptroller-General of Customs, among other appointments made. Joining me on the news to discuss this latest development is a public affairs analyst, Adeniyi. A pleasure to have you on the news. Thanks for giving us your time. It's become a norm that a new government changes the security apparatus when they assume office. What does this say about the system of government?
Well, I think it is not new. For any new person who comes to power, you need to work with people who understand your terms of reference. The last administration actually has quite a number of things associated with those that they gave the job that assumed office. And we know that there were lots of badges on the shoulders and on the feet of the people who had worked with the outgoing president. But the people who are just leaving office should have known that they were just buying time, that their times actually expired when the appointer actually left office. So it is nothing new to have new persons come to the saddle, especially when we talk about service chiefs of security of the country. So the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has acted accordingly, and it is now for us to begin to look at who these persons are in terms of delivering on their terms of reference.
We'll come to that in a bit, but before you talk about who these persons are, let's examine the performance of the service chiefs that were just relieved. How would you rate their performance?
Well, I wouldn't say there is much improvement because don't forget, there are certain things with which we mark the success or not of anybody in office. If they've made successes at the previous administration of rescuing certain people in Dapchi, don't forget that there's Elia Sharibu. Do not also forget that less than 48 hours ago, we had some attack. I think that should be in Bauchi. We've had some attacks in the past 1-2 weeks consistently. So I want to say that the people who replaced the bureaucrats of this world actually filled in their shoes and did what they should do. I have to say that General Leo Lokirabo did the best he could. But of course, when we talk about helping the country stay secure and sure, we find out that it appears as if those who are working against the Nigerian state appear to be more than those really wanted in terms of getting security things done as it should. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I want to give those who have left office 4/10, and I can tell you that is just a pass if you know how university makes assessment of their students anytime exams are written. So that is how I want to put it. Those who have left office really have not impressed upon us, such that the performances that we have on record appears to be superior to the performances of those who are their predecessors.
All right, let's look at the caliber of people that have now been appointed. There are familiar names, actually. Nuhu Ribadu, for instance, is a name that's known across this country. Looking at these people, what are your expectations? And do you believe the president is on the right track with when it comes to the appointment and security?
Now, when the former president was to come into office, what we did was to go to the 1980s when it was the military head of state and what he did. and we thought he gave us a level of sanity. And when he came into office, he demonstrated that more or less like what we call a flash in the pan, where the president was able to recover some of the local government that were in the hands of terrorists the early years in 2015. We can only refer to Lagos, a state where the current president had once governed, and what he achieved with regards to, economy and of course security. And for many persons who perhaps have their hands on the track record of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you say that he has an understanding of bringing capable people to work with him or to actually take over from any office, so that whatever he has done that can be referred to as his legacy don't get messed up. So I have to say that for the current person and the move he's making, we can only applaud him, because assessment of anybody in power will be based on, bit by bit assessment. Let me say this. For Mallam Nuhu Ribadu, there is a new cloth on the body of the person who was there. His predecessors have been those from the military. We usually associate the police as those who can only operate within the rank and file of maybe civilian issues. But we're talking about the security of the country. Don't forget, for many people who are quick to run their mouths, the police appear to be involved more with civilian issues. We know that insurgency, which is a major problem bedeviling Nigeria, usually we have to deploy the military to tackle it. But don't forget that we've always talked about connivance of many persons who are civilians within the civil space that are actually aiding and abetting those who are actually at the forefront of insurgency. So perhaps we could look at some new capacities with regard to somebody who was a police chief and who will be able to help us address that issue. If you look at other lists that he has, I need to put it very straight that for the first time in 8 years, we can see somebody who has appointed those that appears not to be from a particular ethnic group. The former president did a lot, the former president did a lot in that regard, where he gave the impression of disaffection with the people that he appointed into office. So I do not think the list we have now, we've got from the north, we've got from the south, but there is something that worries me in this list. I'm not seeing somebody from the southeastern part of the country. If you look at the administration of the former president, we found out that there was no Igbo person who, of course, is from the southeast that shows capacity that we found among those were his security chiefs. I think that this is also something proper for conversation.
All right, I want us, in the interest of time, is it very important what ethnicity? I mean, there's been some efforts, as you said yourself, in diversifying the parts of the country that some of these appointees came from. But from what you have seen, what are your expectations really? How soon we will begin to see some benefits from this appointment, or we can begin to assess their work? Maybe 6 months from now, 2 months from now? What would be your timeline?
No. It has to be an immediate impact that we hope to see. The people that have been appointed have been in the service for no less than 22 years. Everybody there, nobody has spent less than 20 years in the service. Nobody has spent less than that. The only person that might have spent less than that, obviously, might have come in at a point and maybe gotten double promotion. But the average person who is there has served for decades. Now, why have I said that? For these supremos that have taken over, they've been understudying the evolution of things before this time. It means, therefore, that these people that have been appointed have first-hand information and understanding with regard to the problems of the country. The only thing that they will do is between now and the end of the week, let them redeploy people. Those who have not performed or those who have certain formations or certain divisions that have not been given results can be redeployed. Because for everybody who actually is the security chief, you have the specifics that you want to achieve, and you need the right people to be able to
get it done.
So all
right, let's keep our fingers crossed and see what comes up in the coming days. Thank you very much, Mr. Kunu, for giving us your time.
Thank you for the privilege of talking to you Nigerians. Thank you. I appreciate it. Bye.